Beast Wars episode 19, Call of the Wild. Now, the first thing I want to mention for this episode is that it's actually the first episode to give the other Transformers dream sequences, because as soon as this episode started off, it starts off with Cheetor having another dream. And I've mentioned that, I think, twice now. I'm like, he's the only Transformer, period, in the show, Maximal or Predacon, that has had like a dream sequence in the series. So it started off like that again, and it's him as an actual cheetah chasing down. I want to say it was like a gazelle or something like that, chasing something down to eat it. And so I was like, okay, that happens, and then the dream starts to get weird. Like the ground starts breaking up, and he's falling into lava, which is kind of what made me think like, oh, this might be an actual cheetah. And I was like, holy crap, they're about to show an actual cheetah like fall into lava, and it'll be like a weird introduction to the rest of the episode. But it was actually him dreaming. And so he wakes up, and it's all these alarms going off, and it's like a crazy alarm because they're getting attacked by all of the Predacons. So the ship is being blasted. He runs in and is like, what do you guys need? What to do? So he maximizes and he goes out with Dinobot, and they take on, I believe it was Scorponok and I believe Waspinator. I'm pretty sure, or someone else maybe. Actually, I think it was Scorponok and Tarantulas. That's who it was. So they go out, they're taking them down. They basically just charge right at them and tackle them down. And as soon as they tackle them, it switches to Megatron. He's like, great, now that they're distracted, let's get to the actual plan. And so they're shooting up the ship. They're like destroying the cannons, the Sentinel defense system cannons and everything. And the ship is getting breached. Like they're shooting up the top of the ship and everything. So Optimus has to go out while Rhinox and Rat Trap try to fix the rest of the ship. So they do this, and everything's just all crazy. Air Razor gets messed up again, and it's just a crazy battle. So she's in stasis, and they're fighting and everything like that. Optimus gets knocked down, and they take this little thing on the ship, and they take off. Once they get like this little drive, they just take off. Like the Predacons take off, and the only one who doesn't really get to escape is probably Tarantulas, because Dinobot had him, and he like spun him around. He was like spinning him in circles, and Tarantulas after Megatron's like, we can retreat. He's like, now he tells me, and he's just being swung around by Dinobot, and he just launches him off into a rock. So they're like, all right, we beat him. They messed up the ship a little bit, but we got him. And then as they're inside the ship, they have an energon overload, and they realize that the Predacon attack was actually a distraction so that they could take this piece. So they'd be forced to stay in their beast mode even inside the ship. I mean, they could technically use it, but they wouldn't have as much power if they got attacked. So it skips 2 days. And Air Razor's thing is, like they mentioned early on, like she'll be in there for a couple of days because she took a really bad hit. So they're in there, and they skip 2 days, and it's like none of us have slept for a long time. They cut to a dream sequence. Before this, they have a dream sequence for Optimus where he's actually swinging through the trees as a gorilla and stuff, swinging on vines. And, he wakes up and it's like they're getting attacked again, and it's just Waspinator kind of shooting the ship. And it's like, man, we haven't slept for 2 days. We have to, but, we can't maximize though because we have to stay in this form. And it's just really bad. Like they're trapped, and Megatron, they kind of cut to the Predacons, and he mentions like, we got this. It's a simple effect, and they won't notice it, but eventually it'll take its toll. And I thought it was just, oh well, they'll be trapped in that form, so eventually the Predacons are going to attack them, and they'll defeat them. But the actual thing he was talking about is that when the Transformers stay in their beast mode for too long, their beast mode starts to actually take over for their personalities. So everyone's in their beast form, and they're basically just trapped. Like they're screwed. Like they, contact Tigatron because that's kind of his whole thing, that he stays in his beast mode most of the time at least, because he has like the soul of a tiger. And so he says some stuff sometimes. I'm like, he knows he's a robot, right? Like it makes me really confused when he says some stuff, because I'm like, I understand. I guess. I mean, I don't know. He knows he's a transforming robot, though, I think. But, that was a part of the thing where it's like, he often stays in his beast mode. They don't really do that. And so as things go on, everyone has a little dream sequence, and they have one for Dinobot where he's chasing down another dinosaur, and he gets the dinosaur in his dream too. I was like, holy crap, they're showing him, like, they didn't show blood, but if this was a more adult oriented Transformers show, I guess, there would have been a ton of blood because he caught that thing and was just like shaking it around viciously. I was like, that's pretty nuts. That's pretty crazy. And they had one for Rat Trap as well, and they had did they have one? I don't think they actually had a dream sequence for Rhinox, but pretty much everyone was stuck in their beast mode, and they became the animals that they normally were. And that didn't really work too well with Dinobot being a Velociraptor and going after Rat Trap, because Rat Trap, they have like this crazy mode. It was actually a really great scene. And Rat Trap, when he first wakes up, he's just going around like sniffing the ground and stuff, and he comes to like this corner and he jumps at the last second, and Dinobot like snaps right down at him and he misses him, and he takes off, and Dinobot is like chasing behind him down the hallway. I was like, this is actually a really cool little scene. It was very quick, and it was a very little scene, but it was actually a really cool scene. And so pretty much all the Maximals end up leaving the ship because they're all in like their natural animal state, and like Optimus goes down on the little carrier thing, and he's like holding on to the bars, like their vines a little bit. So he does that, and then he ends up kind of just going off. Rhinox and Cheetor just leave. Dinobot is chasing Rat Trap around and just in the wilds, and Megatron is like, it finally took over. And his whole thing, even though this could have been, this is like a real TV villain thing, even a movie villain thing, just villains in general, he could have easily destroyed them, but instead of attacking the actual base, he's like, oh great, we're gonna go on a hunting adventure against the Maximals and try to hunt them down. So they're going through like he's some sort of king. Like two of the Predacons are like carrying them up as like Scorponok and Tarantulas. Black Arachne is walking in front of them like banging on their drum. Like they have like drum music going, and he's walking around. He took like his tail off and stuff, and he just has his blaster in his hand. And I'm like, this is so ridiculous. And he wanted to make a hunt out of it so that it was entertaining for him. So all this craziness goes down. They're lost. Tigatron finally makes it to the ship, which I don't know what the deal was with that. I mean, I guess they waited the 2 days because they started to actually kind of lose it a little bit, because there was like a mini fight that they were about to have with Optimus and Rat Trap, and they were about to have an argument, and then Rhinox lost his mind to stop them, and he like flipped the table over with his horn. So it was like, I think we need to call Tigatron because he kind of has control over this stuff. So he finally makes it to the ship, and as he sees them kind of taking off, I think he saw them on monitors or whatever, and he could see where Megatron was. Airazor is finally able to get out, and she's healed and everything. So the two of them have to work together to save the rest of the Maximals. And Tigatron, he basically gets in front of all of the Maximals in their normal, his animal form. And he doesn't say anything. Like, he runs into Cheetor, and they both kind of growl at each other, but he like calms down, and then he kind of just turns around and walks. So Cheetor and Rhinox were kind of just walking together like buddies. And so they end up following him. He runs into Optimus, and he follows him. And he does the same with Dinobot, and Dinobot ends up kind of standing there as well. And then Tigatron starts to talk to them, like, you guys need to, face the animalistic side that you have. You're not just beasts, or, at one point, in the machines at the other, you were both beasts as well as Transformers. He didn't say machines, because I was kind of thinking he might say you're beasts and machines, because Beast Machines is the sequel series to this. But I was kind of looking for him to say that, and he actually didn't. He's like, you're both beasts as well as Transformers. So you need to, blend those sides of yourself together and get rid of they have like a inhibitor chip on their beast mode to kind of block it out so that it can't take over for them. And he's like, you guys need to take control of that beast form and blend it together with your robot form and kind of make them one, and it'll make you stronger. So they all kind of delete this block that they all have implanted in them, and they're all able to gain control and maximize themselves. And then there's like a crazy awesome battle between all the Maximals and the Predacons, and it was really funny because it starts off, and I don't know why they were doing this. I guess they wanted the Predacons to know where they were, but somebody was like shooting off a couple of blasts just randomly in the forest, and it's nighttime, so they can't really see. So when they saw that, Megatron's like, uh-oh. And so all the Predacons have to go in and fight, and they got really beat up. And it was a really great fight because it was one of those things where they learn sort of new techniques and stuff, and they use it in the fight scene, and it was actually really sweet. Like, they were transforming in the middle of battles and stuff. And my favorite one was with Rhinox and Rat Trap, because I think they were fighting Pterosaur, I believe, and Rhinox flipped a tree over, and I was like, okay, that's pretty simple. You know, he's kind of done that before early on in his Rhino form. He like broke through a couple of, you know, like a barricade of rocks. And I was like, okay, we've kind of seen him use his animal form before. And then he transformed, like he maximized, and he grabbed Rat Trap, who was maximized, and he threw him, and it reminded me of X-Men. With like Colossus, where he could throw Wolverine and stuff. I was like, they had a cool little moment there, and he threw him, and Rat Trap went into his beast mode in the middle of the, like basically in the middle of being thrown, so that he'd be really small again, and he rolled underneath the legs, and then he transformed again, and he like shot Pterosaur like straight in the face. He was like, I bet you didn't see that one coming, and I was like, that was a really cool move. So they're like flipping and, you know, transforming in the middle of the fight. So it was very cool. It was like a nice little, you know, fast paced battle. It was fairly quick, but it was a good little battle. And like Cheetor and Tigatron were in their like their cat modes, and so they were like tackling people and like flipping over them and like transforming and just little stuff like that. And it was just really fun. And the Air Razor was in the final battle as well. So they're all fighting and everything, and they beat the Predacons, and it was actually really cool. So the Predacons once again get beaten and they take off, and they have like a sort of celebratory thing, because they get the piece back. Well, that was Air Razor's kind of main thing. Like her, as Tigatron was helping them with their beast mode, she went to go get the piece back, and I guess, yeah, she actually wasn't. She wasn't in the fight, and she didn't. She kind of had some action stuff going on while she was at the Predacon base, because no one was there. I thought someone would show up. I thought it would be her and Black Arachnia, to be totally honest, but there was no one there. She went in. She had a super awesome scene though, because she broke the sound barrier in this episode. She flew in. She did like a dive first that looked really cool, just in her I guess eagle mode. I can't tell. I think she's a falcon, because she doesn't have the white head. So she's either a baby eagle who have their they have like black heads. If you didn't know that, baby eagles have like straight black heads, which is crazy. So she's either a baby eagle or she's a falcon. So I'm assuming she's a falcon, but she does like a straight nose dive, and she's like flying really low to the ground as all these blasters like shooting at her, the automated Predacon defenses, and she's dodging everything, and then she transforms, she maximizes, and she's flying straight through, and she's like, they do like the little airwave thing where it's like, it didn't turn red, but it was like blue, and then it like broke, and she like broke through the sound barrier and flew so fast through these two turrets that she like destroyed them, like they spun around really fast. And I was like, that was a really awesome scene. It was very minor, but the fact that she could fly so fast, like she was just flying straight and just broke the sound barrier and flew straight through them. I was like, that was a great little scene. And then they kind of have a little Indiana Jones moment where she's like, you know, there's got to be a trap here. Like, there's no way he'd leave this without some sort of trap. And so she's about to pick up the thing, and this little turret comes down, and they make it seem like she doesn't see it, and it's about to shoot, and then she like blasts it with one of her little wrist rockets. And then she's like, gotta love him. And she takes the thing and she puts it back on the ship, so that's fine. And then I think she does make it at the end of the battle. I don't think she actually ends up getting the fight, though. But she shows up at the end, and they're, you know, like, everything's back in order. And then Optimus is like, it might be even better than it was before now that they've kind of accepted their beast modes. And they all kind of have like a little group cheer sort of thing. It wasn't the cheesy sort of thing, but he kind of was like beating his chest like a gorilla, and everyone was kind of cheering him on, like he was getting like really pumped up because they're kind of accepted it, a part of themselves. And it was kind of an awesome ending. I was like, I kind of love that ending. It was a really cool fight. She had an awesome moment on her own. Them, you know, like I said, the little cheer at the end where they're all kind of just getting amped up because they kind of had an evolution within themselves, accepting their beast modes. So it was just a great episode. This was a really fun episode, and just some of the craziness of their beast modes really taking over mentally for their characters was actually kind of cool. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was really cool, and it was a great plan from the Predacons, but of course Megatron wanted to do the theatrical thing and go on a hunt when, I mean, and technically if they did maximize, then it wouldn't have taken over. So I guess technically I can't down them for that, because the plan wouldn't have worked if he actually attacked them, because they would have gone into their maximized form. and technically they still could have done that if they wanted to, but he wanted to do like the crazy plan where they lost their minds and he went on like a maximal hunt. So I guess in a sense it actually does work. Still technically could have done it because they basically did in the beginning. They were like destroying them at the beginning of this episode, but it was really cool. It was a really fun episode. Tigertron in this, I've always thought, I mentioned when he first showed up, I was like, I like the voice actor for that because he had like an interesting, deep voice. But there have been several moments where I was like, he'd be a good leader, and this was definitely a great moment for that because he was teaching them all, like even Optimus, how to be, Beast as well as, Machine. And I was like, man, if it weren't for the fact that Optimus is the leader because it's Transformers, he'd totally be the leader. And he's definitely like the older, wiser character. Like even like the way he sounds, he's like that. But you can tell in general, he's like the guy who's like, I've. It's like he's lived things, but I kind of don't think he has because I don't know what the deal is with the protoform Transformers, but it was just interesting. It was like, man, he had like a really great speech about helping them through, and he ultimately did it and got them back to their normal selves. And I was like, he gave a great freaking speech, and he saved the entire team as Airazor went, because if he failed, they would have completely failed because she did her thing and. Like she succeeded 100%, but she could have totally been by herself if if Tigertron wasn't able to teach them about the beast mode stuff. And so it was like he had a really great moment. And like I said, not to downplay her stuff because obviously they just would have been going in circles if she hadn't done her side of the mission too. But he had the great speech moment. She had like the epic sound barrier thing, and he just had the epic speech. So it was a really great episode for both their characters because they got to really shine as the last two when everyone else kind of went nuts. So definitely an enjoyable episode. Of course, if you guys have any comments, please put them down in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.